possible. Now, some of these metrics sound very much success focused, but support plays an active role in this. This is not something that is uniquely in the domain of customer success. Support is critical to driving outcomes that matter to the business. So our objective is to think about support outcomes in terms of what is the tangible value delivered for the effort expended by support. We tend to use a measurement index we call the support contribution index. And its intent is to measure the cumulative benefits of support activities. So it's not just how many cases did we handle, how fast did we close a case, but what we want to look at is what was the impact, what was the benefit, both of course to the customer, but also to the business. Why are we doing this? Why is support engaged in these activities? So there are 5 attributes that we include in our support contribution index. One is obstacles removed. How many cases result in customers' unimpeded path to adoption? So a customer can't buy more. They may or may not stay your customer if they can't use your product. So think about when support is able to identify an issue, resolve that issue, and that sets the customer on a path so that they can actually consume and use and adopt the product to actually drive their business forward. Another element is risk mitigated. Support actions taken to put customers at a lower risk of operational disruption. So what is it that support can do to mitigate potential security risks, to minimize performance degradation, or increase reliability of products? So all of the action support takes to mitigate risk is a net benefit to the customer. How do we measure that and capture that? The third element is relationship health improved. So support actions that engage a customer to improve the health need to be measured. When the sales team comes and says, we have a customer that's getting ready for a big renewal and they have 27 cases open and half of them are S1s. Well, at that point, the relationship may be at risk. So what can support do to actually help mitigate that? So there's a tangible connection to what support does to the benefit that the business realizes. Adoption is not necessarily in the lexicon it's more in the lexicon of customer success, but at third, sometimes up to 40% or more of cases are actually focused on helping customers to use and apply a product. So when support actually takes action to teach a customer how to use or apply or do something, it creates an opportunity for the customer to then solve a problem, apply the product, and it creates opportunities for greater license consumption and feature consumption, which creates future downstream opportunity for adoption and expansion. So there are 4 things that in the course of support interactions we can measure in terms of net benefit to the company. But support also is this vast repository of customer insights. So how do those insights get applied? When the support team can track that 30% of all cases are for this one product are related to this one issue and can feed that information back to the development teams and that problem can be fixed, there needs to be a connection between the effort by support to identify, document, and escalate those types of situations and the ability to actually then act on it to improve better products. So everything support does needs to be measured and the contribution aggregated into a general understanding and quantified tangible benefit to the business. But it's more than just saying we removed 100 obstacles, we reduced risk, the number of transactions that we did that fall into these categories. We have to connect the dots. We have to help other organizations understand that when we get involved and remove an obstacle from customers. And that was the outcome of our engagement with the customer. How it affects our ability to retain that customer, improve the satisfaction. Perhaps when support invests time to help customers, to teach customers how to use or apply a product, those how-to questions, how it creates an opportunity for the customer to increase their expansion, their time to value. Well, here's an opportunity to grow that relationship. So everything that support does needs to be measured, quantified, and then translated into a language that product teams, leadership, sales, renewal teams, success teams, and even customers understand. Here is the benefit that we provided from our efforts. Not just, here's how many cases we closed and how quickly we did it. So we're changing the lexicon about what the value of support, the contribution of support is. So earlier, I mentioned that we measure the things we measure typically because the data is accessible. It's easier. It's obtainable. But now we're talking about this value, this benefit of what impact support's efforts had. So we need to think about, well, how can we feed the support contribution index? Well, it means that we need to gain more insights into the impact of our efforts in support, not just how many transactional sessions did we complete, but what impact has it had? So when we close a case, we need to think about capturing the nature and the result of that closed case. So how did we help you, customer? What did we do for you? What did it allow you to do? We need to, when we send out SAT surveys, I know we don't want to make it too onerous for customers, but understanding if they're satisfied with a support transaction doesn't tell us enough. Let's ask them what we did for them, how it helped them. So let's think about getting feedback from the customer to connect the dots between the efforts that we as support expended and the impact it had on customers. And then finally, there's just so much digital information about customer interactions, and there's so much value wrapped up in that. So we need to look for better ways to extract the value and understand the impact of support's efforts by analyzing unstructured customer information. So we need to be thinking about new metrics driven by new sources of support, data, and analytics. Now, the intent is to talk about driving better support outcomes and better efficiency. Well, when we understand what it is that we can do as an organization in support to deliver something that is tangibly beneficial to the customer and to the business, we're on the right path for improving support outcomes. And if we think that there are better ways to support the business and contribute even more, then we can make course corrections. If we think there are things that we can do to help customers get more value and accelerate time to value from their product investments, we can make course corrections. But it's only when we start to think about the impact and the benefits of what support is delivering, the outcomes, can we begin to have a conversation about driving better, more tangible outcomes. So we need to quantify what it means to deliver support value. We need to connect the efforts of support's efforts to things that matter to the business. And then we need to be able to articulate and communicate, evangelize, and promote the fact that here are all the contributions support has made. Here are the outcomes that support has delivered to customers and to the business. And of course, we need to do it efficiently.